Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Emily.
And I'm Joan of Heart.
And good Lord, it has been a dramatic week for the guitar industry specifically. It's unprecedented. Yeah. So for those who haven't heard, it came out on Thursday, I believe, that allegedly, and this is a big allegedly, because my mother sent me this article that allegedly Fender laid off 300 employees.
Oof.
And for what it's worth, everything that's been discussed is mostly alleged. The big video that came out with this was Dylan Talks Tone. However, Phil McKnight covered it in his live stream last week that Fender was having layoffs. So it seems that I don't know who Dylan's sources were. I don't know who Phil's sources were. I don't know if they were the same person or if Dylan's source was just watching Phil's video, which I don't think it was. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where no names have been named. No sources are public. I could find one tweet where someone was talking about getting laid off from Fender from last week. And, if 300 people get laid off, it's not going to be like quiet for very long unless they signed paperwork to get severance. But let's just talk about what was alleged. Allegedly, Fender laid off 300 employees, most of whom were at the Corona, California factory that makes a lot of, if not all, the American-made stuff. Essentially a whole shift. I don't know if it was literally they laid off a whole shift or if it was a whole shift's worth of people. But it's, alarming to see layoffs of that size, especially when, back in March, they're bragging about record sales. But that's also, I've seen that happen before. It's just, it's disappointing. But I've seen a lot of theories. I should ask you first, Joe, have you heard anything about all this?
On that layoffs thing? No. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just basically caught some of the similar things that you had seen. And, for the most part, again, it's all speculation. And I think we want to err on a side of caution to the viewers, basically to say, we're talking about this, but until more of the details come out, again, we'll find out as things unfold. But right now, it's speculation.
Yeah, it's, known that at least one person said they were laid off. I'm sure it was more. Phil made some I don't even want to say allegations, but he said that some stories had been recounted to him about the quality of like the workplace. One thing that surprised me, and this just seems too high to be true. Gosh, what is that word even? I'm blanking. Not a return rate. What am I thinking of? No. Give me 1 second. I have one rework rates.
Okay.
Rework / repair rates. So a rework rate is essentially a higher number says that things aren't passing quality control, so they have to be sent back to be repaired. Yeah, and Dylan claims that he has heard rework rates as high as 50%, and I think the industry goal standard is 5.
Ouch.
So if half the guitars, if half the guitars are failing quality control, and they have to be sent back, then that seems pretty systemic. I don't think you can just blame workers like that. That just says to me like something is really wrong with the factory, because you can blame some rework rate on specific employees sometimes, but that seems systemic. I don't think that, because people are like, oh man, if that's their rework rate, then maybe they should be firing a lot of people. Maybe those people shouldn't be making guitars.
Yeah, Sorry.
They weren't fired. They were laid off. That's different. Also kind of easier legally, I think. What were you going to say?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, again, sometimes when it comes to environments, if there is any kind of toxic environment where the employees either aren't treated fairly or it's a situation in which they're unhappy, yeah, quality will go way down. And that also could explain it too. As far as people are like, I don't care, I'm not getting paid enough, like, my boss is a dick. Like, we don't really know, but to have that high of like a rework number, like something's going on.
I would take that with a Himalayan salt lamp.
Yeah, grain of salt. Huge grain of salt.
That sounds so high. But we've talked on this podcast about quality control issues with Fender lately. I know someone who got a custom shop guitar and the case wouldn't even close. I've talked to techs and luthiers who do repair work, and they talk about the amount of both Fender and PRS guitars that need to have really little things fixed. Sometimes you got to forgive stuff. Like my Squier baritone, the output jack was a little bit loose, so I just replaced it. You would kind of expect that on a lower level guitar, but you're not expecting it on like an American made Fender.
No, I also saw someone posted a video of, they were doing, I guess, a setup on I guess their equivalent of kind of like their American Pro Series Fender. And I was seeing that there was a huge like dig scratch, like right on the metal, right near where the volume and tone knobs were. Like, this is a custom guitar that this person just bought from the factory. How did anyone see that and go, yeah, it's good, and put it in the case and ship it?
Because they just didn't see it. And that could be a matter of like too much volume to reasonably keep up with QC. Yeah. At the same time, we know that Fender has had a little bit of trouble keeping guitars in stock, as have a lot of brands.
Yeah.
So then to be laying people off, it kind of makes me wonder if my hope is that they're pulling back the speed to focus on the quality again. I'm not sure that's the case. I think that's the big pie in the sky hope for what's happening. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I think that's a management issue probably, but managers don't fire themselves.
No.
So that's extremely frustrating. But, there have been a lot of theories. I saw a lot of theories in Dylan's, in his comments. And, information isn't knowledge, and opinion is the lowest form of human knowledge. And this is below that, I guess. Conjecture, hypothesizing, because opinions come from hypotheses. So one comment said, these kinds of mass layoffs are often a precursor to a corporate sale. I'd find that surprising.
Yeah.
But not without precedent. So that's one. What if Fender is wanting to, quote, go reverend and update their overseas offerings, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because the idea there would be they'd make less stuff in America with Americans where it's more expensive, and do more high-end stuff in Mexico, because those are really high-quality guitars coming out of Mexico right now, or overseas in Asia, most likely.
Question. Do you think any of this comes after that ruling in the UK with Fender, obviously? Do you think any of this is related?
I wouldn't think so. How much money was that?
Yep.
Do you remember?
Yep.
Was it 5? Was it,
it was
7, 8 figures?
I think it was a pretty decent number size. And also the refund for people was in between the years of 2014 to 19. I mean, that's also money too.
So someone in the comments estimated, this doesn't sound right, $11 million worth of jobs. And they were fined £4.5 million in the UK.
Convert translation. Yeah.
$2. That'd be $5.4 million. So that's more than that even was, that class action was. So Maybe they had to cut money somewhere. It seems likely that they had to cut money somewhere, and they do that by the most expendable jobs that they feel like they have, especially if you need to slow down for QC reasons.
Yeah.
At the same time, they cannot keep up with demand. One thing Dylan alleged, he alleged a few things, but one thing he alleged was that it had something to do with finances, that they essentially, Fender buys their overseas guitars on credit and then pays that company once those guitars sell and those guitars aren't selling.
Yeah.
But if those are the guitars that aren't selling, then why are you cutting an American workforce? I mean, cash flow is good, but a whole shift when the guitars that aren't selling are the ones that are made in that factory? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
You have to pay American workers a lot more than you do typically when you outsource. So if you're going to, unfortunately, when you look at the, should I cut American workforce, which not good right now, versus, being able to do it overseas, in a sense, if they're really trying to save money, the higher employee salaries in America, that might be a reason why they went there versus the outsourcers.
It would feel short-sighted because if those are the guitars, if the Asian guitars or overseas guitars are the ones that aren't selling, maybe you don't make as many of them. But to almost give a vibe of essentially reinvesting in those versus reinvesting in what's doing well would be very short-sighted and frankly surprising. Again, conjecture. Another thing Dylan said was that Fender's having no problems moving guitars over $1,500 and a lot of trouble moving guitars under. And at first I was like, I don't know about that, but Philip from 40 Watt was it 40 Watt podcast? Mm-hmm. He said people who could afford a $2,000 to $3,000 guitar before can probably still afford one now, but folks that were buying more budget lines probably aren't. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Sales were booming during the pandemic. Yeah. There was a little bit of money going around. People wanted a hobby, so they bought guitars or bought more guitars. There was a lot of cool stuff coming out. It's natural for demand to scale down. Something like Peloton never anticipated was that people are going to buy one bike. They're not going to buy a bunch of bikes. And if you're charging that much money for a bike and it starts to fail and you need to buy a new one, you're probably just not going to buy a Peloton.
No, they will definitely go elsewhere. They will not buy another bike from you. Yeah,
no. So Fender, I thought, was really killing it for a while. Every once in a while, I think when the new plant in Mexico opened up, there were some pretty extreme QC issues. Things like the nuts being filed not evenly, some would be closer together than others.
Oh my God, go home, you're drunk. Yeah, that's horrible.
The CNC machine's drunk. That kind of thing. But I mean, I would think that if you're spending, $1,500 right now for a guitar and it comes to you and it's not fucking perfect.
Yeah.
You're probably going to return it and buy something else. I cannot believe how many Reddit posts, tweets, forum posts, personal experience I've had with people who just send the guitar back.
Yeah. And they're right to be honest.
Yeah, they really are. But there does seem to be a sweet spot around $1,500 where you're getting a really nice guitar. And personally, anything above that, it's really, what's the word? It's just not as big of a difference. It kind of, it's it starts with a big curve and then it kind of flattens out a little bit and maybe has a bump up somewhere else. So I mean, I guess that could be true. I just know at the same time, I'm people have been so stoked about Squiers and people buy multiple Squiers. And I kind of wonder if the issue's more in that Player Series, Player Plus line, which would be a shame because I think they're really good guitars for what they are. I played my Player Plus Nashville Telly at a gig last night, and it sounded fucking great. So
the other take I may have on that is if we go back to this perspective of a lot of people during the pandemic picked up a guitar. They just started. So they bought into the, let's say, Squire, a kind of budget system to just get in because they didn't know, obviously enough about guitar or what they should get. So their first guitar may be that kind of line. And of course, maybe they've been playing a year or so now. It's 2022. And they're looking at the 1500 or that because they have reached a point where I want another guitar, but I want to get one with a little bit more options, with a little bit more. So that might also be what's going on, at least in trying to gauge from our starting point pandemic to now. Maybe some of those players have wanted to move up and there are fewer players right now in the beginning stages. I mean, I don't really, it's all I can get kind of figure.
I mean, I would think that like any pandemic purchase, the churn rate of it is going to be pretty high. I was like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or somebody just released an article that was about regretted pandemic purchase. Everything from Pelotons to kayaks to outdoor heating lamps to dogs and pets.
Yeah,
like people bought things during the
upsetting.
pandemic. Yeah. Like having higher expectations for themselves and their own behaviors changing to thinking that like this was going to be this way forever. I saw something just that blew my mind. It was a stat that said something around 60% of pandemic home buyers regret their purchase. 60% of people who bought a house. And a big thing is people like moved out to the suburbs and were like, oh, I'm never going to have to commute again. And now they have to commute again. They're like, oh, God damn it. This is worse than living closer to downtown. And, a guitar is really small on that list of potentially regretted pandemic purchases. Wow, I am glad there's a little pop filter on this Shure microphone. Because that is positively awful. Sorry, I couldn't think of another word that started with a P. It's pretty low on the list of things that you'd regret. Like you spend a couple, like $500 to $1,000 on a guitar, and it's a lot at once, but it's not like you can't resell it. Though people have been talking about having issues like selling used stuff.
Yes, I have been
recently
having troubles. Yeah, no, again, like it has, and we have entered into the buyer's market is what I've seen, at least in Reverb and even for me in general. Like I've had a few pedals that I've been wanting to sell for a while, and it's like I've ended up trading instead because, it's just, things aren't moving, things aren't selling in pedals or also some other gear. It definitely has shifted to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and the thing, musical gear it's relatively liquid if you buy the right stuff. Like there are things that are harder to sell than others. Harley Bentons are kind of hard to resell. I've heard Reverend guitars are hard to resell. G&L guitars are hard to resell, but a Fender guitar should be one of the easiest things in the world to resell. That's just the case. But when you look at the number of like Stratocaster listings on Reverb right now, you kind of go like, I've never had trouble selling a Squire or a Fender. Well, I had one Squire that sold pretty slowly. It was one of their contemporary Strats. And I think it's just partially because I got the hardtail instead of the vibrato unit. There was I think I dropped something on it. So there was like a little bit of damage to it. But I was surprised at how many shitty lowball offers I was getting on that one. I eventually sold it for what I wanted. I didn't really have to make any concessions, but it took a little bit longer. And that was like a couple months ago.
Yeah, it could have been either options or, your unintentional relicking of it.
Poly relics so beautifully. Yeah. But, the other contemporary series guitar I had was the Telecaster, and it sold I think the day I listed it. No, I didn't even list it. So I just mentioned I was selling to somebody and they were like, sell to me. I think it was one of our Patreon supporters. Sell it to me. Sell it to me. Yeah, which was funny because earlier that day, like I had Rat Boys, the band Rat Boys staying in my house, and I almost just gave it to Dave. I was like, I don't know if I wanted to go through reselling that.
I think I remember
really like
that,
it.
yeah.
So I was like, you can have it. He's like, no, I couldn't do that. And then I sold it. I'm like, oh, well, it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, again, I don't know Dylan. I do know Phil. I think Phil, I trust that there were some layoffs and that all of that and everything that he said, I think it sounds like it was provable. Like to his, like he saw stuff with his own eyes, in pictures, I should say. So that's like, it's not quite, hearsay, but it's not like literally with your own eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know Dylan. I think he got some emails and stuff and talked to some people, but a lot of what he was recounting, he was trying to re-explain something that had just recently been explained to him. So I would take that with a grain of salt, just because once you're trying to, like, it's like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
You know?
It's going to
for
change
people who don't know,
the more, people talk about it.
Yeah, and if you don't know telephone, it's the game where people sit, like 10 people sit in a circle and they whisper a phrase into everybody's ear. And by the time it gets to the beginning, it's often nonsense.
Yeah.
Because you can only say it once.
Yep.
You can only hear it once.
And then by the end of it, like you might have said like, hey, you know, there's a clown with a balloon. Like towards the end of it, it comes around to the beginning. And suddenly it's my dog saw things while eating mushrooms. I mean, like it totally changes its original delivery.
The dog and I have that in common. Oh my God. Yeah. So it is what it is. I think a 50% rework rate seems unlikely. I think I don't want to discount whoever provided this information, but it wasn't provided to me. I think that, you know, what he said is it's possible, but
err on the side of caution. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get you.
I'm trying to find something. Where is my community Patreon? Because I think that might be a good time to break. And thanks, James, for joining our Patreon at $5 a month. Thank you so much, James W. I sent you a message, James, but please check it and let me know if you need/want a link to the Discord.
Yes.
Because I'd like to ask first. I don't just like to.
No, of course. You don't want to assume things on a whim and go, here, access to this area. And they're like, no, I do not.
What the hell?
I do not want that.
What is that?
No.
Also, the links expire. So I want to make sure he's ready for it when he gets it.
ready to receive it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sometimes you have to be ready to receive information. Remember a long time ago, there was like, some tweet going around that went kind of viral. It was like talking how to give bad news. And it was like, you need to message people. Are you in like a state of mind?
Good place, yeah.
A good place to hear information that could potentially hurt you.
Yes.
Like if somebody told that to me, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh no, I brace like, oh my God, what is going on? Like I was, but now I'm not. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's like, do you want the good news first or the bad news first? I'm like, there's bad news?
It's like, I mean, you could give it to me and I can, you know, obviously myself decide whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. So we just dove into a topic this week, and we didn't get to talk about what's new. Joe, do you want to start?
Well, yes. Why, yes, I will start. Running up that hill, gonna make a shameless plug for you to watch my demo. It's already out and it's on the mall, and it's
special guest, Kate Bush.
I know you probably all are just tired of hearing that, but I was just like, shameless plug. If I'm going to do a shameless plug, I might as well piggyback on what's popular right now. What's popping? What's happening? But yeah, that's pretty much.
Just imagine getting tired of running up that hill.
No, I don't think we should. I think it should be like its own theme song for the rest of 2020 or 22.
Yes.
What am I doing? I am just all over the place.
The world would be better if we better understood each other, and that's what the song's about.
Yes.
Hi, Hondo.
Why, hello.
So another thing that you get if you join our Patreon is now, at least for now, we can make a link so that people can watch the podcast as it's being filmed. So that's another reason to join the Patreon at patreon.com/getoffset for as little as $5 a month. You can get access to this, which is pretty cool, I think. So, yeah, as for me, I played a gig last night.
Nice.
We're recording this on Friday. It went. You know, I do this. In 2019 and this year, I did a series of shows called Women in Country Music that has a house band and then rotating singers who pick their songs. And this one just felt more chaotic than usual. So it was a lot of high stress toward the end. The only rehearsal we have is the day of the show, and I think because we had fewer singers for this one, we started later than usual. I really wish we just started earlier. Because a lot of the practices ended up going a little bit longer. I would have loved to have had a little bit more time for things like last minute key changes, last minute structural changes, a last minute song addition. And, you know, I think I did... I feel like I did well, and I think the crowd really liked it, and the singers are just they're all phenomenal vocalists, yeah, it's the last one in the series that I'm doing. It was Emmylou Harris and Nancy Griffith, which is a struggle for me because it's hard to listen to Nancy Griffith songs without crying. There was one where the singer was doing like a solo song, just her on guitar and the pianist. And like I'm like wiping back tears. It was the song "Love at the Five and Dime." I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. I've
had instances of that. There's certain songs that I love and would love to play, but as a singer, I will probably go like a few verses and then like my voice will crack. I'll start crying. Like no one wants to see or hear me. No, I was like, okay, I really want to sing this, but I totally can't. I'm gonna cry. I can't.
Dude, like I sang Across the Great Divide because we had a singer drop at the last minute, like literally the day before. She was never going to play with the band. She was just going to do some solo songs. And I don't know if she'd even communicated what song she was singing, but she at the last minute said that the show wasn't going to work for her, didn't really give a reason. There are theories. We have theories, you know, bouncing around. Like, why would she do it? Speaking of theories, you know, I don't know. It looked like she had another gig earlier that day, like a corporate gig. So maybe she just knew she'd be too tired. That was my guess. Like, just double booked herself and decided to not. So
it's illogical that she was just like, no.
It is possible that she was just like, I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
It's possible she was upset about something and didn't communicate it. But you know, when you dropping out, I've had shows where I've been so stressed. I was like, I should just not do it. And then I do it. I'm glad I did it, even if it wasn't like there was a John Prine tribute night. I wasn't 100% happy with my performance at that gig. I had to learn 20 songs in like a week. So that was really tough. And I'm glad I did it, but there was a point where I was like, I don't know if I should. And you have to keep in mind that the live music really relies on reliability. And if you say you're going to be someplace, you need to be there, even if you're a little bit late. Like, we're used to lateness. We don't like it, but we're used to it.
No, showing up is important. You need to show up.
You need to show up or you need to get a replacement or give enough time to find a replacement.
Yeah, last minute, don't do that. Like, not only will you lose respectability, but also, like, you look like a D-bag. Unless something really happened. I mean, things can happen, you know, emergencies.
Yeah, emergencies can happen.
If you are just canceling
you need to
on
give
a
a
whim,
reason that it's an emergency.
Exactly. But last minute stuff, like, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we had people drop out of the John Prine thing last minute because they got COVID or something, or, you know, a medical concern. Totally. Understandable. We've had people, you know, not show up to something because, you know, you needed to take care of a family emergency. Yeah, understandable. No, totally. But I think the big thing is you have to convey that there's a reason. Otherwise, people will get kind of upset about it. Yeah. There was one of these gigs in 2019. I had to talk the keyboard player, the pianist, off of the ledge the night before. She wasn't going to show up. She was as stressed, if not more stressed than I was. Oof. And I was like, you cannot do this. You cannot put everybody in a bind like this. Like, you said you were going to do it, and we're going to show up. I'll learn some of the parts that you're struggling with, and it's stressful. I know, because I'm as in it as she is. Like, not to say it's not as hard for bassists or drummers, but, you know, a changing key doesn't really matter to a drummer. Structural changes matter. A bassist, you know, they're not often having to learn like the licks like the pianists and the guitarists are. So, like, last minute key changes is just a matter of simple transposing. Last night I had a solo. I spent like 10 hours like getting right. That's an exaggeration, like 5. But like, it was an Albert Lee solo, Mr. Telecaster, for those in the know. Those are hard. It was a song, Two More Bottles of Wine. And so I was playing it in drop D with a capo on 1 because, like, a lot of country music, it relies on like pull-offs to open notes and hammer-ons from open notes. And you simply cannot transpose a solo like that. You simply couldn't transpose that solo more than a half a step down. And I found out the morning of that there was a miscommunication. The song was going to be played a minor third down. I was like, if she'd asked for a half step down or any number of steps up, I could have accommodated it. I simply could not relearn that solo. And at that point in time, I'm like, I'm not going to like just improv it. Nothing's going to sound right to my ears. And, you know, going down. So what I did was I took a second guitar and I tuned it down. So it was already in drop D with capo on 1. So I tuned the other Telecaster down a whole step and dropped that low string to, like, God, was it a C? It must have been a drop C situation. Oh, and it felt weird. It sounded weird. And we got to the show. Like, I did it okay in rehearsals a couple times. I got through the first half of the solo and my brain stopped working. Oh, fuck. I just stopped playing.
The blanking. I hate that. Yeah.
I couldn't hear myself. The guitar that low, it wasn't cutting through the mix at all. It's not that it wasn't loud enough. It was like, I don't think the song worked in that key for the guitar. And I should have just given the whole solo to the pianist. And I was really mad. It was the last song of the first set. And the second set was a lot better. But
that first song would set the tone for you, and you put so much time into it, and then all of this last minute, like, you know, shuffling around and everything. I mean, not only is it going to fluster you, but also, like, again, you're not going to be. It just sets the tone for the rest. You know, you can recover in the second, but it does.
And I did. I had a Tom Collins that recorded for me.
Yes.
And I came back. I sang a song, which I don't usually do. I sat out on one song I just didn't feel comfortable on. It was like a last minute blues jam edition. I'm like, it was like 6:15 and doors were 6:30 that we added this. And I was like, my limit's done. I'm fucking starving. I hadn't eaten since 11 a.m. And, I was out of snacks.
Snacks. You better go home. That's it. No snacks.
And I think just how flustered I was kind of affected the first half. So, like, if I do another one of these, I'm really going to ask for some changes to be made. I think I'm going to be like, for the John Prine night, people came in the night before the show and we ran stuff. And I know it's really hard to coordinate that, but there are fewer singers for this. We have 5 singers scheduled and 4 showed up. 6 scheduled and 5 showed up. Like we could have worked to arrange that if we were given enough time in advance, and it would have been a lot.
No, definitely
less stressful.
Yeah, boundaries. The next time, if you work with any of these people, or just in general, just try to set some boundaries of like, okay, at this point in time, this day, how many days before a show, you can't do anything further. Like, this is what's set. You know, that's...
Yeah. It's like, I want people to pick their songs 3 weeks out, 3 to 4 weeks out. There's no reason.
Of course.
There's no reason you shouldn't be able to. And I want to talk to them all personally and make sure I know what key they're doing it in. And like, if they're making any changes, are you doing it just like the album, or do you do weird turnarounds? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to have more control. Because like there's like, I always say there's a lot to be said to just being able to show up for a gig and play. And I love doing that. Like essentially not do any of the other work associated with like herding cats.
Yes.
But like the singers are like, for these, we kind of took the approach of, please send charts. A lot of singers don't know how to write a chart. They'll like send like an ultimate guitar page, which is fine. I can make a chart from that.
Yeah.
That works. But the one thing that we hadn't really been holding people to is film yourself playing it, so that we can watch it and see what you're doing. Because a lot of times some singers who don't have a working knowledge of theory, which is not uncommon in my experience, they'll say, I'm playing it in G, and then they reach over and put a capo on 2, and then they start playing G shapes. I'm like, okay, well, that's A. Which is fine, but I just want to know what they're doing, so I'm not as surprised 2 days out, 1 day out, the day of. I've talked about that enough.
I definitely piggyback the whole thing on recording yourself when you're working with other people. In the previous band that I was with, 2 other people, that's something similar that I did. I had songs that I myself, because I was playing and also singing, and I recorded myself doing it so that obviously everybody would be on the same page. You know, this is basically how they're played. You can see where the capo is, even if it's also just a audio recording. You can hear the way it is and the timing and everything. Just it's really good everyone to be on the same page and on the same level, because then if everybody is on different, I guess, understanding of what's going on, they're going to be like, well, I think it's in this or that. And then you're just going to have a huge mess on your hands that you'll have to clean up. And then there'll be arguments. And just try to, right off the bat, cut straight to the chase. Like, this is how it is. If we need to make changes, great. But this is how I play it.
For sure. And it's just about communication. It's not about like, I think you're doing it wrong. It's just like, it's like, I literally need to know how you're doing it so I can best accommodate helping you. Yeah.
There was, I'll cut on that. As far as there was someone I was working with, and they were writing some lyrics. It was mostly poetry. And this will also, I guess, cut into some of our questions too. She was writing some lyrics, and we were writing some things to kind of change them so they fit a pattern of a song. And at one point she was like, it doesn't really fit what it originally is about anymore. And I was like, okay, well, I need your input. I need your help to try to gear the words to fit the pattern, one, but also I need to try to still hold true to the originality of what the story of the song is about. And I need your help doing that as we work together. And this was an instance where she's like, well, I don't know when I was writing it, what I was doing. I was like, we need to meet halfway on a bridge. I really want to get this right. I want to help you to maintain your originality. But when you write a poem, by the time it gets to the song, everything is not going to be written the way, and you have to be okay with there being changes. But the important part is we hold on to the origin of what the story is, and I need your help doing that. So communication is so important when you're writing music together.
Writing, playing, you have to be a cohesive unit. Otherwise it sounds disjointed and no, it's not super duper appealing. And it's like you can have cohesion in songwriting and production and not like the people you're hanging out with. Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates had his most success with John Oates, Hall & Oates, and someone asked him what his favorite record was, and he said it was, at the time, I think one of his solo records, and they asked why. He's like, because I liked the people I made it with. Like,
yeah.
Those are two guys who don't like each other but kind of need each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes.
And that can happen. Yeah. That can happen over time. Yeah, but Fender, all the alleged Fender stuff isn't the only drama that happened in the guitar world this week. I got an email press release that said, it was from like the now former CEO's mom, that the CEO was terminated or whatever. And I assumed it was because the most recent press release I'd gotten, like, surrounding Dean was that Gibson had won a lawsuit case against them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's, like, why. Like, that was my assumption. But, Joe, you learned a bit more. And it's like soap opera shit.
Drama. To put it lightly, like, it is such a deep rabbit hole that I went into going back to about 2019 with this whole case with Gibson and Dean Armadillo. Pretty much Gibson sued Armadillo and they basically wanted them, hey, cease and desist. I need you to stop making these guitars. The Flying V, the Explorer, the SGES.
Did they name them that, or was it just the shapes?
The Dovewing headstock. That's basically what Gibson, I guess, that's what it was written down.
Okay. Because I know they were using those shapes, but it sounds like they were also using some names that Gibson had trademarked.
Yeah, the Hummingbird, the Modern, but with an E at the end. Luna was the most recent. I think I said the Dovewing headstock. But yeah, in May of the 27th this year, Texas jury decided in this case, awarded Gibson the win, but really is it a win? Because originally when they were suing Dean for these infringement of these styles of trademarks on these guitars and the design, they wanted to sue them for $7 million.
And they didn't get it.
That's a big, if you think about it, with that kind of money, you're looking to take someone out of the game. For sure, because already Dean has kind of been struggling financially in some things, which we'll get to that because that's its own bag of baggage that I'm going to get to too. So when the jury was basically delivering their verdict, instead of the $7 million, they decided, you know what, Gibson, you're not getting $7 million. You're getting $4,000.
So that was so funny. It was funny because like Gibson sent out like a "we won" press release and Dean sent out a "we won" press release. I'm like, normally in like mediation stuff, like the rule of thumb is like if nobody's happy, then it was a good decision. But they both sounded pretty happy.
Yeah, well, both sides sounded happy. But again, I'm getting to that because this is all unfolding. This has so many layers, like it's Inception is what this is. When the jury was delivering it, obviously I said $4,000 was what they were awarded, in which I kind of feel like, I think a lot of people are sick of Gibson's suing in business practice, like, so maybe the 4,000 reflected we're sick of your shit. Yeah. But anyway, going on. Besides that, another reason why that amount they chose was because Gibson delayed in this case by, they said, over decades they could have filed with this. Dean had been making guitars, these styles, especially the Flying V and the Explorer, since 1976. So they're like, yo, you had all this time. This seems opportunistic. Like, you waited and now you're suing them.
Yeah, it's like what happened when they came back and were like, oh, we want to make the coronet. And even though we let that trademark lapse and you talked to us about it previously and we ignored you, now we're going to take action because we want to make them again to Satellite. It's like that. They waited so long. It's like, did you not have lawyers this whole time?
Of course. And if you think about the guitars that they told them to stop making, it's a big part of their line. I think the only guitars that it doesn't really affect, because they're different enough that Gibson couldn't claim trademark, is the Zero and the Vengeance. Those two models seem to be so far not affected because the angles or shapes are more, I guess, pointed. There's enough of a design difference.
It's definitely Explorer expired, the Zero, and what was the other one?
The Vengeance was the other one.
Vengeance. Let me look at that. Oh, yeah, it's just a pointier flying V. So it's a pointier
it's just
Explorer.
A pointier.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, so they basically said so far those ones aren't touched. They can make those. But when you look on the website and see how much of their models are the ones that Gibson targeted for them, as of July 28th, did an injunction with the courts to say, hey, you really need to stop manufacturing these, like, for real. So that was the big bombshell that came in. And it's a lot of their guitars. God. So they didn't get them for just for just trying to sue them for money. Sure, they got $4,000, but Gibson's like, you know what? $4,000? Well, we're coming at you to pay us $300,000 in our legal fees. We're still getting you. So that's also what they have to pay on top of, well, the $4,000. They're like, nah, you're paying us our legal fees. So that was ruled on top of stopping the manufacture of all these models, which I think is a huge, like, if they couldn't take them out totally financially, took them out with their models, they really have to go back and rethink a lot of their lines now. Like, this is a big situation, which also leads me to the situation with Evan Rubinson and that whole thing where he, after about, I think... Evan
Rubinson, can you explain who that is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you explain who that is?
Oh, he was the CEO of Armadillo at the time that this was all going.
And I don't know if this was explained. Armadillo is Dean. It's like the holding company for Dean and some other brands. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that whole May 27th delivery of the first part of that court decision, he made a statement that basically said, I think shortly afterwards, the ruling, he's like, we're not going to stop making those models. I mean, we won. Yeah, that's, we only had to pay $4,000, but we ain't stopping making those. And as of June 10th, shortly after he made that statement, he was told to leave, step down, and his mother, Pam, took over, sent out an email saying, I'm the head of the company now. And that's another layer in this Inception rabbit hole that we would go through now.
That's what got me. I'm like, how bad do you have to fuck up that your mom fires you? Your mom who gave you the job in the first place fires you. Like, so that was the start for me. Like,
me too. What's going on?
That's the mother. The mother just fired her son. Like, there had to have been more to it. And
oh yes, there is more to it. As we peel apart this onion to tell you how far this layer of conspiracy goes, it goes beyond the comments because he was caught embezzling to the handsome sum of $420,000 from his late father's company, which was Thoroughbred Music.
Allegedly, right?
Oh, no. Like, he denies it, but he denies it, but there is evidence. He was spending it on lavish luxury things and claiming it was landscaping and other things, which their place doesn't need any landscaping. Like,
Thoroughbred is a guitar store, right? A music store.
Is
that right?
I think off the top, I might. Yeah, I would think. Yeah, if you could look that up. But as far as that is concerned, like, he was spending lavish things. He was burning bridges with all his father's connections company-wise. Like, he was just not giving a fuck spending things left and right on what he wanted and labeling it as like miscellaneous things to the company. So upon finding this, and of course the recent comments, I think Mom said, hey, you're done. We're done. And
you're done.
Yeah, you get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You're done. Get the fuck out.
Oh my God.
So
it's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving this year.
Oh, no, of course. And it could have been the fact that it also was tied in relation to a trust. So knowing, I guess, some things about like either annuity trusts or like things regarding that, perhaps, and I'm speculating here, Mr. Evan may have been like, you know what, let me get my inheritance now. I don't like being limited to my means. And who knows, like it could have been entitlement. It could have been a lot of things, but clearly not the way one should go about doing any kind of business kind of endeavors.
No. It's not the way anybody should do embezzling. Like, what?
Yeah, no, that's definitely no. Embezzling is no.
It's bad. It's never good.
No.
And it must be so tempting. It
is. And also the $300,000 in lawyer fees that I talked about, Gibson won in this recent injunction, sorry. They have 30 days to pay that. It's a heavy mic drop. Like you have 30 days to pay us that.
How much money again?
300,000. Yeah, they're trying to take them out completely of the market. Like that's the only thing I can figure. Like if we, I don't know.
That's what, $10,000 a day? Basically.
I mean, like that was 30,000. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe a little more than that. But yeah, it's quite a lot in the short span of time that somebody's going, show me the money. Like, so, like if they're gunning for you and they want to take you out, if they couldn't get them the first time, they're really trying to obviously just go for it now.
Drive that last nail in that coffin.
Yeah, that's basically what they do. And again, you obviously, and I'm sure some people know my stances or feelings about Gibson. So it's focus on making guitars. Stop running around and trying to sue all your competition to like take them out. Just stay in your lane and just do better QC and like.
I mean, I get it. Dean was making a Flying V guitar and just calling it V. I mean, that seems intentionally confusing for consumers. Like, yeah, I don't. If you know about guitars, you're probably not buying a Dean over a Gibson. But if you're just a kid and you're like, oh, Flying V, I know a lot of cool people play Gibson Flying Vs. You can get a Dean one. Yeah,
that's the other thing. I can afford that, Mm-hmm. It's their competition.
Yeah, and it's one of the few, like, trademarkable body shapes out there. Like you can't trademark a Telecaster style, or you've never been able to, or Stratocaster style, and you can call them T style or S style on top of that. And you can't do that for V and Explorer for some reason, and I'm not sure why. If you do know, please leave a comment in the YouTube video about it. But what a mess. Like what a weird day at that company, I'm sure.
Oh no, of course. And just going down that rabbit hole, it was like a series of they did what? What's going on? His mom? Like, oh my God, like this is just so beyond the original like infringement. Like this is its layers of, this should have its own like movie. I don't know.
It's a soap opera for sure.
Yeah. As hold on. As the guitar manufacturer guitars turn. Just have it be its own like soap opera or something.
Oh yeah, for sure. Man, well, thanks for recapping that. That is that's a lot. That's a lot to take in.
No, it is. It totally is.
And people say guitar industry stuff isn't dramatic.
No, it's not.
It's like people who say there's no emergencies in rock and roll. Just what bullshit. There are absolutely emergencies in rock and roll. And if you say there's no such thing as a rock and roll emergency, then you don't work in music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap
Well,
it
actually,
up. Oh no, there's more.
Yeah, there was.
Oh,
no, not
shit.
with that. I
Okay.
at least wanted to get maybe a few of the questions if we could just
Oh,
get to that we
yeah,
asked
that's
about.
right.
Yeah, at least we can get to
Oh
some of
my
those because I did
gosh.
ask a few of you guys like to kind of give us some questions in this episode, and I think that might be a fun way to meet for us to kind of engage the both of us in a way that's with you guys out there that you're listening, so we can answer some of those. One of the ones that I'm going to ask first is, what's on your dream pedal board?
I don't know if I have one. I've been trying to get together with a company to make a video where I just build my own personal pedal board because I haven't done that in a really long time. I just make separate ones for different gigs. But I think it would probably have the Ernie Ball volume pedal tuner. I think I'd have an Empress compressor, my Mazette lower drive or Robert overdrive, a Halberd. And then after that, like, it's just the opportunities are so endless. I love the Somersault by Caroline. I love the Speed Tripper by Death by Audio. I don't even know where I'd start on reverbs at all.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many.
Oof. I don't know if I would. I don't even know if I would want it in stereo or mono. I'd probably do mono, but I really like the float, and I would love to be able to put that on a board. And that shines in stereo. I wonder if it would make sense to put that like toward the end of a chain.
Yeah, towards the end might be pretty fun.
Yeah, because you don't usually put filters back there.
That'd be interesting.
I think my dream pedal board would just be something that I can manipulate relatively easily. Yeah, I think it would change a lot. Yeah. Like I have my favorite drives. I have my favorite compressor. But like my modulation stuff and my time-based effects stuff, my preferences change there a lot. And it's what I get most excited about, I think.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate with that because as we, I guess, go on our own like journeys over time, our tastes as far as either pedals or gear will definitely change. Like as far as like my dream pedal board, where I guess I currently am is I'm at that point where I'm kind of content now. So if I was to build, I guess, a dream pedal board, it would be some of the things that I kind of was missing and I'd want to experience, but haven't yet. I know I would definitely like the float. I definitely have for a while since that episode that you were working on that Fender amp for the oil can. And I know Old Blood Noise Endeavors has that black fountain. So that's on my list. Yeah. So that's on my list too, as far as my dream pedal board. It's, someday soon. And also the other thing I would say, I've always wanted for a long time, and I've wanted to rent it, and it's always out of stock, much like the Black Fountain, because I've been asking from Pedal Genie. I definitely have always wanted to try the Strymon Flint. People have raved and loved that, and I have yet to try that. But Strymon has a relatively cost high buy-in, so that's why I want to try it, rent it first just to try to be sure if it's something I wanted to get. Maybe I'll find a used one just to be cost effective. But for the most part, my pedal board is kind of close to being I'm grateful and obviously lucky to have gotten to this point, but it's always changing. I swap things out all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have time for one more quick question, and maybe we can save because I'd like to wrap up soon.
Of course. Yeah. All right. So
I gotta go to Canada.
I'll do pretty much another question that's really quick that I'll answer like right away because it's not really a debatable one. Lady Dragon Song says, pedals. How do I get more of them? Well, I guess my response to that would be when a mommy pedal and a daddy pedal love each other. Very much. They, obviously make plans and, more pedals come from that, that kind of situation. But yeah, the other thing I guess I will say is this is another one, which I think you may be better at answering this than me. Let me see. What is the most versatile pickup arrangement for a Strat and Les Paul style guitar, and what is your favorite?
That's an easy
Possibly.
one?
Yeah, it's probably not an easy one.
What is the most
yeah.
versatile pickup arrangement for a Strat and a Les Paul? I don't understand the question, to be honest.
I guess
I think on a Strat, I think it would be 2 single coils and a humbucker that's splittable in the bridge. I think that's just generally going to be the most versatile pickup setup you can get. Versatile with a Les Paul that's just preferences. I prefer P90s over humbuckers and a Les Paul, though I usually play them with humbuckers is what I've gotten to play. I like the junior style guitars with a single pickup, like a single P90. That's what I prefer.
Subjective, really.
Yeah.
Everyone's preferences.
Yeah, they're just versatile. I think the HSS Strat's probably the most versatile, and I wish I had one. It's okay. The pedals, how to get more of them. I mean, you buy them, you trade around for them. I know people want me to say like starting a demo channel, but you gotta if you start a demo channel, you gotta start with stuff that you own. There's really no other way to do it.
Rent too.
Yeah, renting's a good way to try out a lot of stuff. But that could be a whole different topic. Is
no, of
how
course,
to actually start getting pedals when you film demos. And the truth is, it's kind of a mix of outreach after you've established yourself enough and have some product that you're proud of, and organic people coming to you because they like your demos.
Yeah, I think that's
so basically how do you get more pedals? You got to buy them, or you got to work really hard to start.
Yeah, you got to put the work in. There's no gravy train. There's no free ride, really. You still have to make the demos.
No shortcuts.
Obviously, quality is obviously. Yeah, there's no shortcuts.
No skipping
you still
steps.
have to work. No. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Cool. Well, I think that's actually a good place to end it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I have anything coming up that I want to talk about for this. I have some demos in the pipeline, but nothing that people should be looking out. Well, you should be looking out for all of them. But
I was going to say, of course they should be.
Yeah, you should be looking out for all of them, but nothing specific right now because my schedule can change. So, it does that. But just a lot of exciting stuff cooking that I can't really talk about yet is the gist of that. How about you? Anything people should look out for other than the mod demo you just released?
Anything else further, I guess, that is going on? I will probably from this point take a short kind of, maybe like a week or so break, because it's been nonstop this past week and making like little promos. And again, like I am a one-woman show, so I have to, on top of making the demos, I have to be my own marketing person. I have to obviously post these things everywhere, make promos, like multitask in ways that my brain doesn't shut off, and I'm still, obviously having trouble sleeping because it's like, well, what about this? Yeah. Did you do this? Can we do that? Hey, well, the other thing, you could have done that, but you didn't. Too late now. Dude, so it's always like, okay, we'll do it next time. How do we improve? Like, the next demo, I have some possibilities of who the next person could be for the animated demo. I haven't heard back from them, and I asked them, I guess, like a month or so ago, but they also, like me, am a single person operation, so I know they're probably also busy, and they answer their own emails. So if I don't hear from them, it'll probably be me moving on to a pedal I already have, and it'll probably be me, testing out the Figaro character as the next character that I will be explaining a pedal with. So that'll be fun.
That's going to be really exciting.
That. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you to everybody out there. Please like, comment, subscribe for more of this. As well as... Oh, there it was. For more of this, subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, please. You can actually watch the video episodes of the podcast in Spotify now. It's really cool. And apparently there's sometimes they're a little bonus features in there, like multiple choice questions, and like you can put your response into things that could be pretty fun. But yeah, everybody just know that I really appreciate you. Really appreciate y'all watching, listening. So as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for understanding. You're not saying my line this time.
Good. Until next time, my name is Emily.
I'm Joan of Heart.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.